What's happening, chaps? Welcome to another episode of Chaps Chat with myself, Ollie.
And me, Dom.
And today we got our guest James on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. Good to have you here.
It's good to be here.
Yeah, so James, we first met at the Josh Hansen Trust tournament, right?
Last year, wasn't it?
Last year, yeah, last year. Really good event, actually. And it's weird, isn't it? It's like things just align sometimes. So it was nice to meet you there.
Yeah.
And yeah, then we've been speaking and now we're here. So yeah, it's great. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Cool. Just to start off, as we usually do, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself and a little bit about your sort of background.
Sure. So I'm 32 years old, live in Watford, Hertfordshire, with my fiancée in a flat. And for my job, I'm in the marketing team at a mental health charity called Hertfordshire Mind Network.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I really enjoy because I can use my lived experience in my job, which is really fulfilling.
Yeah.
And I think that's me. To be fair, in a nutshell.
Yeah, that's cool, man. That's cool. I see, obviously, all of your posts, and you work with Mind, of course, Hertfordshire. That must be quite like a fulfilling job, obviously, especially with like how your journey's been and what you're focused on. So it's like your being in your work is revolved around mental health as well, which is great. Like, how's your journey sort of been there? How'd you get into it?
So after my first episode of Psychosis, and when I recovered from it, I kind of thought to myself, it was such a bad experience, traumatic. Like, I don't want to wish it on my worst enemy. I want to help people, either avoid it or recover from it. And part of my writing journey is I discovered Mind, and I did a blog for them, and it was really therapeutic, but also sort of really life affirming. When I shared the blog, people were giving me lots of nice comments and feedback, and it kind of made me think I need to work in mental health. It's I don't know, don't want to be cheesy, but a sort of purpose.
Cool. Yeah,
definitely.
And then I've had so many interviews actually for National Mind before I got my Hertfordshire Mind job, and so it was really, really satisfying to finally get in it, because it's just I go to work I don't have Sunday blues. I just go to work and I look forward to it.
Yeah.
And part of my getting ill was actually I was trying to get a higher end money job instead of a fulfilling job, and that it made me realise that I need to actually put the fulfilment first. And spending 60 years or so in a career, I might as well make the most of it. And yeah.
That's so we talk about this, that's what the dream really, isn't it? It is the actual dream.
It's difficult because I've had that thought in my mind a lot of the time. I do recruitment for a job, and it's I enjoy elements of my job. It's never what I thought I'd grow up and do, but for me now, I've been in I've made a career of it, and it's for me, I think, could I transition into a role working mental health, which I'd probably enjoy more, to be honest with you. But sometimes it's okay, I put a lot of work into this. You're so far down the line, and I'm in a place I'm at with that job. It's kind of hard to transition. But I do think a lot of the time I probably would be, not that I'm not happy, but I'd probably be happier in that type of role, because doing the podcast, it's just a hobby to me, and I know obviously, like you said, you don't get Sunday blues because it's something you actually enjoy doing as well. It's your passion.
Yeah, and I think there's companies out there, recruitment companies, who specialise in either the charity sector or mental health jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. So I thought, for me,
that is true. Yeah, you could.
Yeah, that's it.
You could stay in the same career.
From my side, I'll be honest with you. It's more the thing of I could do that, and it's that trade off of whether I could basically not lose money, but take a drop from my side and what I'm doing, and that. I didn't really want to come as to say that there, but that's the real situation that I'm in. But it is difficult. But long term, I think if you're doing actually what your real passion is, you're probably going to become more successful of that anyway. To be honest with you, which is which is probably the best mindset. So you have to see what happens down the line. I think I work with charities in my job now, for recruitment, not necessarily doing So we recruit their tech teams and stuff like that. But that's really difficult for charities, because naturally big companies have big teams set up to do that, whereas a charity's never going to have as big a team as that, so they probably need someone like myself more. So maybe someone to look into potentially in the future to move into that setting. It'd definitely be good, but yeah.
It was hard for me initially because I was at a stage where, because I got really ill and I got made redundant from my market research job. That was my first career. I was do I go back into that where I've already kind of started climbing the ladder, or do I start again? And it was a really fear, starting again, and I had to do volunteering to get into my marketing job, so I had to like work and not earn anything, which was hard. But because I was living with my mum and dad, like they didn't ask me for rent when I wasn't earning any money. I was volunteering, so it was like, because it's hard to get some jobs without experience, and volunteering got me the experience to get that first kind of step on the new career ladder.
That's so good. Like that, I feel like your journey into that, even like writing the blog for them originally. So like that, it's like, as you said, your purpose. Like you're meant to be where you are with them now, probably. You know, so having to go through that sort of little bit of the struggle stage where you are, you know, you're not getting paid for what you're doing, but for doing it for such like a cause that you are passionate about, to do that because you know it potentially can bring you further in that is great. And so just to go back, the market research. So it's funny actually. me and Dom went to do
market research before.
Oh really?
Me and Ollie used to go when we well I don't know how old we was.
Young.
We must have been in our early 20s or 20, maybe just before
late teens.
Do you reckon it was that?
Yeah, it was about 10 years.
We used to be a part of it. I think I'm still part of the Facebook group. You know what I mean? Just in case. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't have the best months all the time, but yeah, they'll tell you to go like do market research for like 50 quid, and you go like and be part of a group sort of thing.
All right.
So me and Ollie used to go along to we did a couple of them.
Yeah.
I think the first one we did was like an army campaign, and it was like they were adverts for the army, and they were like showing you and asking you for your advice, but maybe slightly different from what you were doing market research wise. But that's exciting.
Focus group type.
Focus group. That's it. Yeah. It was like, do you know?
I remember
it's like the easiest money you've ever made.
Yeah, I think we went there for like 45 minutes, got 50 quid. It was alright. It was it's not too bad.
To the pub,
but there's a lot of those things that go on, to be fair with you.
Yeah, I'm still part of an email. What's it called? I'm subscribed to an email where it's like, this is the latest focus groups for this money, and most of them I'm like, no, I delete straight away. But every now and then you think, oh, that's a bit of me. And I did actually do one for Mind a few years ago. Like I went into, I think it was central London somewhere, and just talked for about an hour or so, and it was paid, and so it was really nice.
Like you just paid to give your opinion.
Yeah.
It's like
no one wants to hear it for free, you know.
Excuse me. Yeah, exactly. So no, it's good, but. No, it's great what you're doing then anyway, James. So like to get a little bit more into your sort of background, so obviously working with Mind, how long have you been with them?
I joined in 2021, September. Okay. So yeah, coming up to 2 years.
2 years, nice.
Good. Yeah.
And from that, to talk about your sort of journey on the book, can you explain what your book is and how you sort of come about that?
Yeah, sure. It's called Befriending My Brain, and the subtitles, what is it? Befriending My Brain, and the subtitle is A Psychosis Story.
Okay, right.
After the colon. And then, so I started writing it in 2018, and that was the year where I kind of was making good kind of strides in my recovery in terms of actually wanting to talk about it, because initially, for the first sort of year or so, I was really closed up, wanting to like bury it because it was so traumatic, like I didn't want to think about it. And then I realised that kind of mindset wasn't doing me any good. It was like I wasn't really getting anywhere. Like I wasn't really getting worse, but I wasn't really feeling better. It was just kind of nothing. And then I started opening up and feeling really good, and I kind of was wanting to pursue that. And I kind of, the blog I mentioned before, that kind of gave me the writing bug. So blogging kind of led to me discovering other people who blogs. And I remember one girl posted something on her social media, like on her blog, that said, I'm going to become an author. And so I read it, and it was like, this mental health publisher, we're going to publish my book.
Wow.
I was like, that's really cool. And then it kind of gave me the light bulb moment, like I've got a lot of kind of stuff that's happened to me which I could kind of put down in a book, which could potentially help people, because one of the things that helped me open up is reading other people's memoirs, like people who've been through psychosis and bipolar and things like that. And it made me feel really comforted and really good, like I wasn't the only one. And also reading someone else's memoir, it was like my thoughts were their words as well. And I just thought, if this can make me feel this good, like I want to sort of pass that on and hope to make other people feel good. Because psychosis, it really kind of derails you, and it makes you kind of feel like you might not be that person again, like you might not get a job or find another girlfriend and things like that. So it's really important to find something that kind of gives you hope and makes you realise like just because you've got a mental illness, it doesn't mean you can't live a life like anyone else can.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of what inspired to write.
Great, lovely name as well, Befriending My Brain. Yeah, that's
Thanks.
a really good name. So, like within your book, does it tell the readers about your story leading up to psychosis, and then like the sort of road to recovery on your sort of journey? Yeah.
So it sort of display. It's sort of like a quick rundown of like my childhood, teenage years.
Yeah.
This is the first chapter, and then it kind of explains where I was before psychosis, and it goes into when I was like full blown episodes and going to the doctors, being sent to A&E, which then led to being sections, and there's a chapter of my memories on the psychiatric wards, which are very hazy to say the least, because I was sleep deprived and there was a lot of trauma. So I've written down what I can remember, but also it's got like chats in the book with other people, like my mum and my best friends and my fiance. Like it's got a sort of chat with them because they sort of help fill in the gaps of the memories, and I thought from a reader's point of view, it's good to get multiple perspectives.
Yeah, that's quite unique as well.
Yeah, that's really clever.
Good I was trying to be unique. Like, I was trying to think. I don't want this to just be another book. I want it to kind of.
So as you're like reading, it will go into a conversation that you've actually had with. That's really good. That's
doctor's notes as well. It's got like notes from the mental health team, because they would send a letter to my GP about my progress, and it'd be sent to me. Like I'd be CC'd on it, sort of effectively. So it's got like snippets from those notes in the book, which again is like filling in the blanks, but also it's like it gives you a professional perspective as well,
like real life insight into like how everything sort of works around psychosis, which is like so beneficial for people to, you know, because it's like obviously you would never know about like even the emails and things, or like what gets said unless you're reading it yourself or it's about yourself. I think to be able to have that strength to provide that information to other people is really amazing. So well done for you.
Yeah.
And I think it takes, you know, a lot of strength to be able to do that. And especially coming from your situation where you was on a ward and things is like obviously a really traumatic time in your life. But as we always say, like to come out on the back of that in a positive way in regards to helping people, it's like we can't salute you enough for that. So it's like it's amazing what you do. So so it's Befriending My Brain. Where can the people buy it? Where can they view it?
Yeah, it's on Amazon as an ebook and a paperback, and also the Waterstones website. I've got a copy with me actually in my bag. If I wanna. Should I just bring it
let's
out?
get that. Yeah, definitely.
I better bring it along.
Yeah.
When you know what it looks like.
Of course, yeah. Great, thank you.
We'll obviously put links to where you can find it on when we post it as well.
So it's Befriending My Brain by James Lindsay. I found it impossible to put down.
It was good to get him on the because he's an author as well, and he's an MBE, Johnny Benjamin. So it was nice to have him be part of the front cover and endorse it. Yeah.
Would you mind if we read this bit on the back just so?
Sure. Yeah.
I thought that might be a nice idea. So just gonna read. I don't. What do they call this bit on the back? I don't even know what they call that on the back of the book.
Kind of a little
summary, maybe.
Yeah, author bio, like
bio. Kind of, So this is the bio on the back of the book, and it says, like many of us, James Lindsay is no stranger to stress and anxiety. In his case, though leaving those struggles untreated led to a full psychotic episode that hospitalised him for the better part of a month. But his story doesn't end there. Now he wants to help others avoid the same fate by sharing his experience, including the red flags he recognises in hindsight and the path he charted to recovery. No matter where you are on your journey, James's story will resonate and remind you, as he puts, that every recovery is always possible and hope is never far away. That's just a great little saying there. Because I think I can relate that even to my own experience, and just because like where I am now, like there was a point where I never thought I'd really recover from like depression, and I didn't really see a way out of that at that point. But now also in hindsight, looking back at it, I think it's when you kind of learn the most lessons from yourself as well. But hope is never far away, and I think like sometimes when you're in that mode, it's hard to find hope in anything or see hope. But I'm sure for people who are going through similar circumstances, reading this, and like you're saying, like for us, it was like also doing the podcast, like letting people know that other people have been through similar things, just makes a world of difference to people.
Yeah.
So no, well done for putting it into words, because I mean it's difficult to sit there and kind of relive past experiences for anyone. So
yeah.
But here's the book, guys. So make sure you go and buy it.
I'm very grateful to the publisher because like they designed the front cover, and also
nice.
The title was a bit different, and then they said, "What about this?" and it was better. So I was playing around with like Befriending My Psychosis or schizoaffective disorder, which is my current condition diagnosis, and then they kind of threw in brain, and I was like, actually that rolls off the tongue much better than my title. So yeah.
Great. It's a very inviting book as well. The colours on it are really nice.
The colour blues, I like blues. So.
Yeah.
It's not a daunting book either because it's quite small, and people who've been reading it said they can get through it in a day, and the chapters are quite short as well. So I sort of wanted to make it appealing not just for bookworms but for people who really don't read that much.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely, because I think like for a long time I didn't really read at all from like gap from school to like, but like probably like the last 4 or 5 years like I can't put down the book at the moment. So
100%.
But from this, I mean, in terms, what do you think the main kind of not lessons is the wrong word, but the main points that could help other people after this book who are maybe going through the similar thing?
I guess like the title for me is important because my relationship with my own brain used to be like I'd shy away from telling people about my mental illness, and like I'd kind of be like, oh, I hate that I got a mental illness. I feel like I'm, it's such a setback. Like I wish I didn't have it. Like I'm gonna get, held back in life. Like I'm not going to be able to get a job and stuff like that. And I got to a point where I thought actually there's no point mental illness being my enemy because that's just not going to do me any good. Whereas if I befriend it, like learn from it, and kind of, I almost wear it as a badge of honor now. And it's that kind of like philosophy about not kind of being ashamed of whatever you have, like depression or anxiety, or just kind of like use it to your advantage, if that makes sense, if you can.
I think befriending it is a powerful statement, which is great because it is like to look at it or have it as your enemy is only in the long run gonna create or cause more issues down the line. So being able to befriend it and learn about it and understand it is, I think, where it gives you that peace of mind where you know what it is and it's okay. It's not like, it's not frowned upon in a term of like these are real life situations which happen in life, and you're not just one single person out, and there's so many people who go through so many mental illnesses, and it's fine. It's like there's a lot of people that don't have mental illness and go through a lot of things in their life as well. So it's like this is what life is about. It's a roller coaster and there's ups and there's downs, but taking on your diagnosis and befriending it is a great way to look at it. And another like really, really brave thing to do, and takes a strong character to do that. So again, like, hats off to you, fair play.
Thanks.
Because at the end of the day, it's yourself as well. It's a part of you. So we always want to be friends with ourselves, and I think for me, it's like generally my like when I suffer from depression, anxiety, I think it's made me a better person, just because I was forced to look at my life and see certain things, or like why are certain things happening, which is different for everyone, right? But I think it allowed me to kind of identify things that maybe, or behaviours that weren't the best in life, and tweak those to get to a point where it's now my mental health is better in that respect. And obviously it differs from the type of mental illness people have, but I think being able to put it down in a book and look back in hindsight so other people can learn those lessons, it's just a great thing to do. And I think it's so widespread now in terms of people suffering with mental health issues in a more generic sense as well. So I don't think there's really a better time for this book either.
I feel similar because like I don't actually regret anything that happened to me, even though it was very bad. I wouldn't change any of it because like the person I was before it happened and now I feel like a better version of myself.
Yeah. That's definitely very positive.
Did you feel so when it comes to your psychotic episode, what you had, like, did you feel a build up towards that? Did you feel, was it sort of like a daunting road where you could feel something was going to happen, or was it just like out of nowhere?
Probably more out of nowhere because the main trigger was a breakup, and it was like I was in a bad place kind of leading up to the breakup, and then I don't think it was like my first kind of big breakup. Like I had one before, but this was like a long-term relationship. So um, I was kind of just a mix of emotions. And when I was first like being psychotic, I didn't actually stop and think that I was unwell. Like it's a really weird, like deceiving thing. And like I was a bit naive because like I was having these sleepless nights, and I was thinking, that's fine. I'll just crack on like next day and like just go to work or do whatever. And I was like neglecting my health, but I couldn't see it. Like I had no self-awareness. And psychosis can be deceiving because there were points where I actually felt good. Like I thought like I almost had like these heightened senses, and like my mind was going so fast, but I thought, oh, it's fine. I'm just a really quick thinker. Like I wasn't thinking, oh, I've got racing thoughts. I need to like take care of myself. I was just like, oh wow, this is fine. Like I can just carry on. So
Yeah.
it was it was, and it was kind of out of nowhere because I was being told that I need to see a doctor, and I was in denial. So it took me a long time to actually stop and realise I was ill. Like I'd been ill for quite a few weeks before I realised it.
Suppose it's hard at that time, isn't it? Like as you said, like to be naive, and I think all of us are guilty of that at most points in our life. Is to be naive, and I think when you don't understand things about mental health, it's easier to try and block them out than to let them in and accept it, because as you said, like having to befriend it is a daunting thing for people, and that's the harsh reality of it. You know, when I've been in depression and anxiety and things, I had to befriend them as well myself. The only way that I was ever going to get better was understand that it was happening to me, and to reassure myself that this is your life and that is it. So you're gonna learn with it and you learn to live with it. And I think doing that makes you like really be able to manage it a lot better.
Yeah.
Not overcome it, because it's still there. It is still there.
Yeah.
But you're more aware of it, and it doesn't frighten you as much. And I think that's like a really key point, because obviously like we spoke of things like when we've had like anxiety, panic attacks, me and Dom, and like we've gone to hospital and things, like it's a scary moment.
Yeah.
But now if I ever like feel that coming on, I understand what's happening, so I'm more aware of it.
That's good.
So I don't get myself into a state. But yeah, it's great. And with the book then, so like obviously your goal is to, you know, educate people on psychosis and to, you know, let them know that it's okay and there's a better light at the end of the tunnel. Where do you sort of see the book going, or where would you hope it's going to go in the future?
I kind of like want to do my bit, even if it's just a little bit, because I think psychosis and schizoaffective, they're not talked about as much, and the awareness isn't the same as anxiety and depression.
No.
Yes.
Like I'm not saying we should stop talking about anxiety and depression, like, it's like, for example, coming up in 2 weeks is Mental Health Awareness Week, which is a really good thing, and the theme this year is anxiety. And my kind of like sort of hope for the future is 1 year I hope the theme is psychosis or schizophrenia or bipolar or something which doesn't get talked about as much, because that will make people kind of be like, oh, what's that, and Google it and stuff. So yeah, I just hope it does a little bit to kind of, you know, as you said, educate people. I hope it kind of leads to more like maybe a second book, and just opening doors for me to kind of do good things, really.
Great, yeah. I think spreading awareness, like as we always say, it's like the more people that are doing it, like yourself, and like actually putting in the time to publish a book, it's like, it's great, you know. So like obviously it's really well done for getting your book out there and for doing that at such like the things that you've been through. It's not easy to do, and I think like, you know, it should never be undermined. It's a really strong thing to do. So
someone
it's
like
great.
yourself doing something like that, it then incites more people to do the same thing as well, which is obviously what what I'm sure you want and what we want from the pod as well, just to kind of get more people aware, so they're telling their friends, or if they see their friends going through something, they can identify that where their friends may not know. But yes, from the book itself, I mean, what was the most difficult thing about? I can appreciate it must have been hard to relive that experience, but I think for most people, like, to write a book would be a difficult thing to do, regardless of the subject, just to be that disciplined and to be able to actually go through and push through it. So, what did you find kind of challenging in writing the book?
I think I was reliving some of my ill moments because I was like, because I've had 2 psychotic episodes, and the second one in particular, I was really angry, and I was really like unpleasant person. Like, I didn't treat my family and friends very well, and you know, you kind of want to go back to your past self and just like, you know, stop, you know. But I was just such a different person, so it was hard to kind of relive that and like kind of go through the guilt and stuff. But like I've spoken with people affected, and they're like, you know, explaining that it's the illness and it's not you.
Yeah.
But it's hard to kind of realize that because it's still your body and your mouth and your actions, like, you know. And but it felt, you know, I don't regret doing it because it's kind of I've been able to process it and like just, you know, live with it and normalize it almost. So
yeah, 100%. And obviously, like, it would have been challenging, as Dom said, like, and you said, to relive those moments when you had to write it. But did you also get a sense of like the reflection of how far you've come as well?
definitely,
To like the person you are now? So it maybe like benefiting in a more like undercover way as well, where you might not have realised it, but it's, you know, it's like when you do look back on things and you see like how far you've come, it must have been nice when you finished it to be like, wow, you know, like, this
definitely.
is where I am. Yeah.
I try and take stock, like, because I remember which times a year I was ill both times. So when those months come up, I kind of think, oh, 4 or 5 years ago I was this, and now I've achieved this and this, and I think it's important to have that like self-compassion and
definitely. 100%. No, I agree totally. But it's amazing. It's so good. It's so good. And yeah, hopefully there is another book in the future pending. Because James's book is doing extremely well at the moment. So congrats to you.
Thank you.
And of course, it's only published in March, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you know, we're only in May, and
Early days,
and it's flying already.
Feels like ages ago. Like
March. It must have been
in May this year already. I think that's mad. Like, it's good.
Yeah.
This year just got, it's always like that, isn't it? When you're in the midst of it, it's always everything just goes quick. But yeah, I think definitely. Like you said, it's funny you mentioned that Mental Health Awareness Week's coming up as well. So that's definitely going to be a good one. I'm sure there's a lot of great initiatives that are going on.
Yes.
I know actually I'm going to be speaking at my company meeting at work, which I'm actually looking forward to. It's funny, right? Because we do the pod, but I think public speaking we haven't really done that much. We've done it a little bit, but I definitely always feel so much more nervous when I'm public speaking. So yeah, it'll be an interesting one. But it's good that I think well-being's there's so many more well-being initiatives in workplaces now, because I know you were with your work with Mind. Are you marketing and wellbeing officer?
My full job title is wellbeing access and marketing officer. So it's so in a nutshell, it's kind of like helping people access our services, like promoting them, but making them as accessible as possible, like explaining them to people, like through the whole process, like being referred, self-referring, and kind of what it'll be like when you're in it and stuff, and like assuring them, if not just for themselves, but like maybe for someone else, so they can kind of recommend it to someone else.
And is Mind doing any specific events for that particular week, or?
My local Mind is, so we've got lots of events on that week. Actually, we're like fully booked. One day we're doing 3 events at once, which since I've been there, I think we've done. It's in like we're at 3 events.
In that day.
In the same day,
right.
We've got enough staff to like, so there's 2 people in each event.
Got ya.
And but since I've been there, we haven't done 3 in one day, so it's like we're stretched, but it's good. But we've got so I sent out an email to our staff and volunteers and asked them like, what helps you with anxiety? And I've got about 6 kind of ready to share social media posts, people saying like, oh, I walk my dog, or I, you know, go running or whatever works for them. So it's like a post per day of the week. So I'm looking forward to the week because it'll be a lot of. Usually we get like really good engagement as well when we share things like that, and it's just my personal like fulfillment of the job is like at an all-time high that week because like I'm kind of sharing these stories from everyone and get like lots of good conversations and
it's like this is like the Christmas
Yeah.
isn't it? It's like, you know what I mean?
I never thought of it that way.
It's like this is the week, which is what your whole job and what Mind is about, is mental health awareness. So it's like this is like obviously must be really really busy, but that's so cool anyway, like to be involved in that, and I'm sure it's going to be a great week for you. Like, just make
sure. I know
you
you mentioned volunteering. What opportunities are there? Sorry to delve proper into your job, right. Just because I've had interest before myself. I'm not sure if it was Mind I looked into before. It was either Mind or Samaritans, but I think with my full-time job, I needed to be there. I think it was one day every 2 weeks, which would have been difficult for me. But I think it'd be good to know to let people like what type of volunteering opportunities are out there. Just because sure there's a lot of people that aren't aware, and a lot of people I'm sure are keen to do things in that area.
Yeah, there's it's very varied as well. So like you could help with fundraising or marketing, or the client-facing roles, so you can kind of get involved. So, like peer support volunteers and carer support. We do like a nightlight service as well, which is like a out-of-hours confidential phone setup where you can ring up if you're stressed and talk to someone. So you could talk to a volunteer.
Oh, cool.
So it's there's almost something for everyone really. We've got all the opportunities on our website, and so you can kind of, decide what are you good at and kind of go from there and like sort of volunteer based on your strengths.
Yeah, that's cool. Is that like when you was volunteering? Did you find like the marketing sort of side of things, or was you already doing that previously?
So I volunteered for a different charity initially, and that charity couldn't. They didn't have full-time opportunity.
Right.
But I found I went and worked for like an animal welfare charity as a marketing assistant, and then Heart's Mind has moved up there.
What was it like working for an animal welfare charity?
It was really good.
In my mind, I'm just hoping you get to spend loads of time with the animals.
No, I saw every
just
day.
walk in work, just like 8 puppies.
No, there was 1 or 2 people who brought their dogs to work, and they would just be in the office. So they'd be like on my lap at one point, and but it was hard because when I worked for them, it was after having a cat and a dog growing up, and I still haven't had a pet since, so it's hard to like not take all the cats and dogs home.
No, that's pretty cool. But I think like I've only had a dog the last few years, and I didn't have a dog when I was younger, so it's like kind of flip side of that. But yeah, I think I used to work in like, I don't know if you heard of like WeWork, the WeWork buildings you get, they're like open plan offices. So I used to work in one of those where the company I worked for did, and they would have like sessions where they would just bring in puppies.
Right.
And, like, bring in puppies, and you'd be able to spend an hour with them, like stroking all that sort of jazz.
I've seen it on TikTok.
Or even, but you could take your dogs in there as well. You'll see that a lot more places now where you could take your pets to work, because even like I'm sure someone brought their dog into my work not too long ago. But if I took mine in, she'd probably just end up biting, so I'm eating all the food. So not too sure.
Some dogs are just really like chill. They'll just sit by you. You know, some dogs will just be like
all over the gaff.
I used to work in an office where the owner would bring in his dog. Like every day, he would just walk around the office and just like So, sure, one time I see it pick up the phone.
keep an eye on it, make sure he's working.
Yeah, it was like a British bulldog as well. Like, So it was like it was quite lazy, to be fair. Just sat around, but everyone like come under your desk and you're like like 5 minutes. It like takes your mind off things quickly.
I'll tell you what, like if you take a break every little 5 minutes, they say that's what people should do every hour. Take a short 5-minute break, and then it makes people more productive. But imagine you've got to spend that stroking a dog. I think you'd be much more productive.
100%.
Lots of benefits. Like apparently cats lower blood pressure. Like just spending time with a cat.
No, I don't believe that.
Raise it, I think.
As long as it's not allergic.
Oh, I don't know, Well, I've never really had pets. I think I had a cat for like 2 weeks, but it didn't work out too well. But I used to have mice and things like that, and hamsters.
I had hamsters. Feel that little wheel spinning round.
Couple goldfish and things, you know what I mean? They're great then.
Yeah.
Maintainable,
You
quiet.
you build such a connection with a goldfish.
Yeah. So, just to ask as well, if you do have some advice for the viewers, if they are ever in scenarios where they are feeling a psychotic episode is approaching, or to someone who's not really aware of what psychosis is yet, what would be your advice to that person?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because like there's so many kind of things to choose from, and it depends on the person. Like everyone's different, but I guess from my experience is it took me a while to kind of just accept help, and like I think it's a male thing as well. You kind of you think you can get through it and like overcome it by yourself, but for me, like I realised kind of accepting help was the way forward, really. Like, and especially with such a serious like condition as psychosis, like I think it'd be impossible to just overcome on your own. I think that's probably the main.
It's like the best advice there is, really, isn't it? Like, just don't go through it alone, and like just reach out for help. And that's what we say, and like this is our whole point of why we do this, is to promote and to try and normalise conversations and being able to speak up about things and not feel like you're a bad person for doing that or feeling weak as a person. And especially in men, as we know it, and this is a men's mental health podcast, but we have women on this podcast and our viewers are women as well, so it's mental health as a whole. But I think why we do it is because we've been in situations in our life where we haven't spoke about things ourselves, and we know how it is. And
I think we were saying this earlier, weren't we? Like, men are quite guilty of waiting until breaking point until we actually it's like, which is like, well, I can laugh about it now, right? But it's like at the time it was like I mean, for me personally, it was like years, and it's like, I know you said this many times on the podcast. It's quite sad to think that people go through their whole lives without actually seeking help and kind of suffering that much. Do you know what I mean? I had a few years of it, and like that was enough to change me for a lifetime. So it's just like even that first conversation, just even if it's a friend or not necessarily medical help, then it's always worth just having the conversation, just because I'm sure majority of the time, 99% of the time, it's going to be well received by whoever you decide to go to, because they're generally someone who's quite close to you. But it does make a massive difference. And I think like we spoke a lot about like the education here, like the education from your book. Like we obviously we learn ourselves having people on our podcast like yourself, and obviously try to help viewers learn as well. But it's just knowing and understanding the subject just takes away the fear from it as well. So it's so important that you do educate yourself around whatever it is you feel like you're going through, if you are going through something. And naturally, from our side, obviously still feel free to reach out to us and have conversations. Like we're always open for an anonymous chat as well.
Yes, definitely. And just dive into it, learn about it. The more that you learn about it is the more that the way you're going to be, and the more comfortable it will fit in your life. And not that actually you'll let it fit in your life, and you'll make it fit where you need it to fit. That's what I feel like.
I liked as well the friend. Like I was thinking when you were speaking about that, it's like you got to treat mental health kind of like your friend. Like you got to learn what your friend likes. You got to learn what your friend doesn't like. Do you know what I mean? It's like sometimes you got to give your friend presents, like that. What my presents might be meditating or something like that.
Yeah, it's true,
but keep it close. Do you know what I mean? Or keep your friend good in the place where you know they're meant to be in. And it's like if you kind of treat it like that, then I'm sure it'll definitely have a big benefit for anyone as well.
Yeah, one of the themes that came out when I had CBT was about kind of treating yourself as you would a best friend.
Yeah.
Because if your best friend was really having a hard time, you'd be very compassionate and you'd be trying to help. So like you kind of got to learn to treat yourself like that as well.
Yeah, like we're at the end of the day, it's like we're all human. Like we're all a lot of the time striving for certain things for more, but it's also we have to remember why it's good to have goals and to be happy with what we might call success. But at the end of the day, like we have everything as people. That's why already in a sense. So it's like remembering that as well, and remembering that if you like, it's a lot of time I feel like we're harder on ourselves than we are other people, which kind of links into what you just said there. So I think that's a good mindset to be in if you are going through something. It's like, because a lot of the time it's like for me, I used to have bad anxiety and I used to drink loads of coffee, and I was still drinking loads of coffee. I can drink it now and not have anxiety, which is for me is great. Do you know what I mean? Because I love it. But outside of that, it was just like me being a friend to myself there. Like if that was my friend and they would like going through what I was going through, drinking loads of coffee, drinking alcohol, let's say, I would say don't do that because it's going to make they both heighten anxiety. It's going to make it worse. But there was a length of time where I was still drinking that alcohol and coffee. Do you know what I mean? When I was in that place, so it's kind of being aware and think of it logically as well. Just because that's not like that kind of shows mental health because that's not a logical way to think in that circumstance. So just kind of it's being aware of yourself as well. I think is massively important.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and it's great, and obviously you're aware of yourself, writing your book and things. Again, it's called Befriending My Brain. James Lindsay. James will post obviously all your links to your books, to your social media and things, and yeah, please do go and support it, and please do go and buy it. By the sounds of this conversation, it's obviously a really good book, what you've done, and I don't think you can really get more insightful if there's actual conversations of real life conversations which are going on. So yeah, and obviously wish you all of the success with it.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully there's a second book to come.
I hope so.
Yeah. And how's things anyway in your life at the moment? Is everything good? You okay and things?
Yeah. I mean, I still like anyone has my bad days, and I try not to kind of think, oh, I'm cured now, I'm recovered. Like it's just continuous. Like I'm just always gonna kind of think I'm not really vulnerable to being ill again because I take my medication and I look after myself. But I was kind of like that after my first episode, before my second episode, thinking, oh, I got this, I've recovered, and then I got ill again out of nowhere. So it's like I don't take being healthy for granted.
Yes.
So yeah, it's important, but it's good to have the writing as an outlet, and still like these days, like I write poems and I do a bit of diary, journaling stuff. Nice. So yeah. Just trying to like stick to what I'm good at, but also what keeps me healthy and
good for you, mate. Good for you.
Makes happy. Yeah.
Engaged as well.
Yeah. Getting married in. Thank you. Yeah, in October this year. So
nice.
Oh, not long then.
Very excited. No, it's gonna come around quick.
Excited time. Well, make sure you go and buy the book.
How's all the planning and stuff been for it?
It's been good. I think I feel like we've always been kind of ahead of our schedule and our to-do list. Like we're kind of on top of it.
Cool.
And I'm that sort of person. I like to kind of stay on top of things. And yeah, it's one of those things that I'm both nervous and excited for it because I'm not always like good with being the centre of attention, and like I do a bit of public speaking at work. Like I do presentations and stuff, and I'm used to talking about mental health and stuff, but like. It's so different being like every time I'm at a wedding, I think I'm glad I'm not the one getting married. I'm nervous for them.
Best man speech. God, how's this gonna come out?
Yeah.
That's one of the things I'm dreading as well. Like my friends are gonna like completely rip me to shreds. Like there's lots of embarrassing stories that they're probably gonna share, but it's all good.
That's what the day's for.
Yeah.
No, do you know what? Just make it your day with you and your fiance, and as you say, obviously it's a lot of spotlight, but just enjoy it because. It's a really special day for you both, so yeah, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we've got a really nice venue. It's like a hotel as well, so it's all going to be in the same place. And
yeah.
People staying over like.
That's nice. Yeah, that's.
I've been to one wedding in it, and it was that type of scenario as well, which I think like as well. Like obviously people come to have a few drinks and have to worry about driving home as well. So it's a good story. It'll be a lovely day.
Yeah, 100%. Well, James, it's been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you coming down.
Thanks for having me.
No, anytime. Honestly, anytime. Befriending My Brain. Please do go purchase the book. Have a look at it. We'll post all the links to the book. Also, James's social media profiles will be in the bio on our Instagram. And the links to Amazon to purchase the book will be on the YouTube episode bio as well. And yeah, wish you all the success with the book. Congratulations on publishing it. Congratulations on being engaged.
Thank you.
Sounds like things are going really well for you, and I'm sure they're just going to get better and better.
Yes, yeah.
And yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
thanks
for coming on, mate.
Thanks for doing the podcast as well, because podcasts have helped me like loads. So like anyone who does one, I'm like full of admiration and appreciation, because it just helps so much, like listening to other people's chats. So
thank you very much.
Keep doing what you're doing. Basically.
Yeah.
Cheers,
good.
Mate.
And it's a nice community as well. You know?
Exactly,
I feel like you probably know some of our guests as well.
I do. Yeah. And you discover other podcasts through them as well.
It's that domino effect, isn't it?
Yeah. Like when one of your guests has their own podcast, and then you discover theirs, and it's great.
It's great. It's such a good network. It really is. Yeah. But no, I appreciate that a lot, James. Thank you very much.
All right, lovely. Well, thanks a lot, guys. This has been Chaps Chat with me, Dom.
Me, Ollie.
And our guest, James.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
was saying me, James.
See you later, guys.
Take care.